The Dodgers move on to the divisional round against Philadelphia. Game 1 is Saturday in Philly. The Rams are back in action tonight against San Francisco at SoFi. Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua leads the NFL with 42 catches and 503 receiving yards. After week 4 of the NFL season, one of the 5 African-American head coaches in the NFL is still looking for his first win. Aaron Glenn, in his first season with the New York Jets, is 0-4. The Jets' next game is at home Sunday, October 5th against Dallas. Pittsburgh's Mike Tomlin and Tampa Bay's Todd Bowles are 3-1. Atlanta's Raheem Morris is 2-2. D'Amico Ryan in Houston is 1-3. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate, with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless, for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Les enfants qui mentent ne vont pas au paradis.
Okay, merci.
When I lie awake in my boudoir, I think of you, do. Do you think of me, or do you lie? Do you lie? When I'm in a sad and lonely mood, I cry for you, do. Do you cry for me? Do you cry? Do you cry? When I need someone to talk to, you're not around. When I need another human's touch, I'm wearing wrong, 'cause you're outside. Going down, going down, going down. I don't like you. The nights like that on in the moment, I feel so good when you're near. Tell me, do you feel it too? Do you lie? Do you lie? Do you cry? From the inside out there, oh, I say only I don't feel sure to you. Do you really love me when you cry, when you cry, when you cry?
KBLA Talk 1580. I guess you could have guessed if I hadn't even told you before we did news, traffic, and sports. Who's coming up next? Yes, it's the president of the Prince fan club. She also happens to be a professor, Pan-African Studies at Cal State LA, a mother of 3, and the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots. Dr. Melina Abdullah, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. That
Okay,
made me feel good, actually.
tell me about this song. Wait, turn it up. Let's have her talk about the song over the song. Why this one, Doc?
Oh, because people be lying. People be lying. That's a dedicated song. That's a song I'm dedicating to the liars. Do you lie? Do you lie? Do you lie? Yeah.
Whew, so that's dedication going out to a lot of people from the White House all the way across the country, all the way across the nation,
all the way to across the street. Right.
all the way, all the way around the world, down the block, and across the street. All righty.
Exactly.
So, okay. So we said we were going to focus on Assata Shakur, and I do want to do that. But I have to ask you to put on your political science hat for a second and say something about a government shutdown, because a government shutdown sounds simple, but it's actually not. You would think it just means the whole thing grinds to a halt, but the FBI will still come and arrest you. Like the IRS will still come and, get you. It's so some things shut down, some things don't. How do you see it?
Right. So the things that the Trump regime wants to keep going. So there is no end to the FBI. There is no end to military, which is really, really disturbing, though, because we know, even though I've ground into my children that military is not an option. And the reason that military is not an option is because you have no control over things and you kill people, right? So I've ground that into them. But we know that many of our folks are go into the military because they don't have many financial choices. They don't have resources to go to college, and they see military as an option. So what's really problematic is when you think of a government shutdown, the military has to stay, but their checks are no longer guaranteed. So they have to continue to fight. They have to continue to do whatever they do, but they may not get paid, right? Paychecks will probably stop or probably have stopped. So most folks received their October 1st paycheck, but if they're expecting to be paid again on the 15th, if the shutdown continues, they won't receive those checks. Places like national parks, places like museums are already closing down. And so that's what we can expect with a government shutdown. You know whose check does not stop is the elected officials. The politicians' checks don't stop. Donald Trump and his regime, his cabinet, their checks don't stop. So that's what a government shutdown means. I think, and I may be saying too much, but I do think we should think about, this gives us an opportunity to think about the role that money plays in keeping the wheels churning. And we can also think about how people's shutdowns might work. You know who pays for the bombing of Gaza? Your tax dollars. You know who pays to fund Israel? Your tax dollars. You know who pays to put police who have now shot 34 people in Los Angeles? Your tax dollars. So, maybe it's time to also think about a people's shutdown. Under Donald Trump, we've had the longest shutdown in history. It was 39 days during his last administration. And so that's probably what can be expected. And of course, there's other folks. People are going, should I get on a flight? Yes. The other people who are not allowed to get out of work are air traffic controllers. They may not get a check, but they still got to go to work. So
yeah, but I know that last time that long shutdown that you referenced in the first, I think it was 2018, the first Trump term. What happened is that after a while, and I think it was after a couple of weeks or whatever it was, maybe it was a week, I don't know. They stopped paying those air traffic control. They stopped paying the air traffic controllers. They stopped paying TSA, and so some of them stopped coming to work, and that's when the lines at airports got real long, and we had trouble with flights. So those kinds of things, to your point about the military, the furloughs where you supposedly you get to keep your job, but you either don't get paid or your hours are cut way back. those impact a lot of areas that are supposedly still open under a shutdown, right?
That's right. That's right. So there's furloughs. So again, it's the things that we value, but the Trump regime does not value, right? So the shutdowns are of things like parks and museums and those things that they deem non-essential. But everything basically coming out of the Pentagon continues.
Right.
And most of them continue to get paid. The air traffic control situation is they're not supposed to be able to stop working, but nobody can tell you don't have the flu, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, the
so
thing,
that's
and the
that's
other
what
thing
folks
about it is that, what you just said is telling what they want to keep going keeps going. And that's what this Al Jazeera article that I referenced a couple days ago said, which is that it may be, and then Trump said it out of his own mouth yesterday, it may be that they see this as an opportunity to do layoffs. They're already talking about cutting funds to Democratic states, things that they may or may not be able to do, likely wouldn't be able to do if the government was actually functioning in whatever level it normally functions. So what is their incentive, I guess is the question, to bring services, to bring the government back online when they're still getting their paycheck and they can use it as an excuse to fire a bunch of people and defund Democratic states?
right. Well, one, there isn't, right? The question becomes
Not good news.
Right. But the question becomes, and part of what happens is, what does Alice Walker say? The most common way that people give up their power is to think they don't have any. And I think that some of the conversations that you've heard out of Congress are that, Trump is not going to do what they want them to do. And what happens is then Congress, even Democratic members of Congress, capitulate, right? If you think about people like, what do they call them now? Assata Shakur, right? That they capitulate. And Hakeem Jeffries, they capitulate. And I think that people need to stand strong. We need to demand that our elected officials don't give in. And this is also, there's what they call disaster capitalism is the term that Naomi Klein uses, that how they use disasters to usher in even greater exploitation of the working class. But when we have disasters, there's opportunities on both sides. So how do we use disaster to also say, okay, this is what we demand, this is what we want? We got to be very clear that even though the Trump regime may order things, he does not have the capacity to carry those things out. So there's people who've been fired, who refuse to leave work, right? There are things that people can do. People can refuse to. I think I shared with you, Dominique, that last week we were in Washington, D.C. for the Congressional Black Caucus. And there's these massive, it feels very Hitler Germany. There's these massive flags hanging from governmental buildings with a looming, this really kind of menacing face of Donald Trump on the flags. It's almost like a Hitler flag that when you looked around Nazi Germany, you would see everywhere. That's what you see in Washington, D.C. now. Well, Trump may have ordered the flags, but he didn't actually place the order, nor did he erect the flags himself. So people who don't believe in this, people who believe in democracy still, people who believe that government should be doing things like making streets smooth and having public education, need to refuse to comply. And that's part of our power.
Yeah. There's a new poll that's reported in The Hill says that 47% of the public right now, respondents, are blaming Trump and the Republicans for the government shutdown. And 30% are blaming Democrats. To me, that's probably one of the only things that might move them off of this if that holds or continues to grow and they feel like it's damaging. Although I don't know for sure, because I feel like The president did say he doesn't need you to vote anymore, and he's counting on whether it's voter suppression, gerrymandering, cheating, or just refusing to leave office to be able to stay there indefinitely. So maybe they don't care about polling. Not sure.
Well, he always cares about what people think of him because he's a weakling and, has an ego that is easily bruised. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. When we come forward, we're going to talk about Assata Shakur. Of course, Dr. Melina Abdullah is a scholar. This is a Think Tank Thursday, and we'll look at a couple of other issues as well. I really want to get updated on what's happening with the global Sumud Flotilla and more. There's a lot going on, as you know, and we're going to take this Think Tank Thursday to get a little bit thoughtful about it. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate, with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless, for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Dude, did you order the new iPhone 17 Pro? Got it from Verizon, the best 5G network in America. I've never looked so good.
You look the same.
But with this camera, everything looks better, especially me.
You haven't changed your hair in 15 years. Selfies? Check, please.
New and existing customers can get the new iPhone 17 Pro, designed to be the most powerful iPhone ever. With eligible phone trade-in and unlimited ultimate, any condition guaranteed. Best 5G source root metrics data, United States, 1H 2025. All rights reserved. Trade-in and additional terms apply for all offers. See Verizon.com for details.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
On the Think Tank Thursday, as it's now called, Dr. Melina Abdullah, we dodged a bullet with Thirsty Thursday. Think Tank Thursday won in the vote. And when we talk about think tanks, it's really one of the things they do is help people understand certain issues, trends, and kind of explore how we want to think about things, how we need to move things. And the reality is, I'm already starting to hear the further demonization of Assata Shakur. It's not surprising because she was fugitive from the law, first woman to be on the FBI most wanted list, and looking at the white supremacist, administration that we currently have, it's not surprising. But I think it's important to frame her work and understand her contributions, not just as an individual, but also as part of an important movement, so that we can have a different understanding from what we may hear in the mainstream media.
Absolutely. So many of us, our lives have been tremendously transformed by Assata Shakur. who is one of our most loving and brilliant and revolutionary in the truest sense organizers and freedom fighters and poets and mamas, and one who just gives us strength. In fact, anybody who's ever been to a Black Lives Matter gathering or protest or event knows that we close all of them with a chant that we call Assata, words that she wrote for us, not for Black Lives Matter, but for revolutionaries generally. And we take those words and we use them to drive us forward. And they go, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. And we close everything with that. Students Deserve closes with that. And we always have the youngest among us say those words because it gives us this understanding again of what our power is and what our sacred duty is. So Mama Assata Shakur was a member of the Black Panther Party and a member of the Black Liberation Army. And she's from New York, and people go, oh, is she Tupac's mom? No, she's not Tupac's mom. Afeni Shakur was Tupac's biological mother, but Assata and Afeni were very close, and Assata was Tupac's godmother. And she lived in freedom in Cuba until last Thursday. And last Thursday, she took her final earthly breath. So this is the 1 week anniversary of her transition. Assata Shakur was framed for the murder of a New Jersey state trooper in 1973. There was a shootout that stole the life of Brother Zaid Shakur, who was killed on that New Jersey Turnpike. But after they shot up Mama Assata, they then accused her of actually pulling the trigger and killing one of the New Jersey state troopers who died in that.
Right. And I want to add too, because a lot of people don't know this. They had been trying to frame, I mean, there was like 3, 4, 5 cases against her prior to that had failed in court. And then that's right. This time was successful where they were able to get a conviction. But I think it's important to know that this wasn't a one-off or she just shot a cop. It was like they were repeatedly trying to frame this woman.
That's right. Repeatedly trying to frame her. She was a member of the New York 21. And we should know that. But I think it's important in this moment. And I won't go too far here because I want to tell the rest of her story, just a brief overview of her story. But I do think that in this moment, it's important to remember that the state never simply allows revolutionaries to carry out their work, right? That they do see revolutionaries as enemy combatants and they treat them as such. And by enemy combatants, I mean as targets of war. They have declared war on revolutionaries, right? And so they do it 3 ways. They assassinate folks, as they tried to do with Mama Assata, as they did with Comrade Zaid, right, with Fred Hampton, and we can talk about others going all the way back. They attempted to murder Ida B. Wells, who people don't even think about, but they firebombed her house, right? So through assassinations, they try to kill revolutionaries. And then the reason we even have political prisoners is because the state says if we don't kill them, we'll take them out of rotation. So we'll just lock them up and remove them from life where they have influence. And so we can think about political prisoners, many of whom are still in prison, including the father of Assata Shakur's daughter, Kukuya, who's still in prison. Her father is still in prison, along with people like Melina Abdullah, and then there's others who we were successful in bringing home. So assassinations, incarcerations, but also discreditation. So we can think about what they're doing even after the death of Assata Shakur, where they try to label her a terrorist. So the reason they kept going after her, trying to frame her, was to not frame her as a freedom fighter and a mother, which is what she was, not frame her as somebody who was driven by an anybody. What I love also about Mama Assata is I don't have to tell her story because she tells her own story. And if anybody can find a copy, because now virtually every bookstore, every Black bookstore is sold out of her autobiography, but put it on back order. Assata, she tells her own story. And also there's lots of recordings of her where you can hear her teachings. This is where we get the hashtag Assata taught me. It's not just from her autobiography, it's that she kept giving to us through her poetry, through her teachings. And so what the government tries to do is if they fail in killing, if they fail in making one a political prisoner, then they try to discredit. And they can do all of these things simultaneously. But they are trying to discredit now the legacy of Assata Shakur, but have been trying to discredit her and trying to turn her into a terrorist, really from the early 70s onward.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we only have a couple minutes here, but I think part of the reason that she captured the imagination of a younger generation, you have Common's famous song, and she's been referenced in many a rap song and in conversation, is because of the fact that she was able to escape and live the rest of her life out in Cuba.
That's right. And so we should think about that she didn't do that on her own either. So in 1973, she's framed and arrested and charged and ultimately convicted in 74 of this killing of a New Jersey state trooper. She's sentenced. She goes to prison in 77. So I guess it was 77. She goes to prison in 77. By 79, she's busted out of prison by other political prisoners who gave up their own freedom for hers. Dr. Matulu Shakur, Baba Sekou Odinga, who are now ancestors, and I pray that they greet her and welcome her into the realm of the most righteous ancestors, busted her out. She reappears in Cuba in 1984, but I want to also be clear that from 79, when they busted her out, till 84, the people also kept her safe. She was in Pittsburgh, she was in New York, and the people, despite the largest bounty on the head of any Black woman fugitive in the history of this country, the people kept Mama Assata safe. And it was ultimately the people of Cuba and, of course, the president, right, Fidel Castro, who provided her with asylum in Cuba, where she lived free, continued to work as a poet, and be especially an inspiration to hip hop community and other revolutionaries who would come behind her. So the story of Assata Shakur is a story of freedom and what it means to never stop fighting for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for freedom.
Talking with Dr. Melina Abdullah, and you're, of course, welcome in 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580, news, traffic, and sports, and then some more right where you are. KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Trump officials visited Memphis, Tennessee Wednesday as federal forces began a crime crackdown. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth met with law enforcement and National Guard troops.
This is long term. We are going to work hand in hand to make the most violent crime city in the country have no crime.
Black Mayor Paul Young hopes it brings results. A year after being shot 10 times while pregnant, a Black mother from Memphis, Tennessee, Kiera Maxwell, is calling for federal help. Her boyfriend, Maurice Dorsey, was killed in the ambush. Maxwell survived, gave birth, and now walks through pain to show her sons her resilience. And Mass Appeal and Marvel are teaming up for a new comic series, Legend Has It, honoring hip-hop icons like Nas, Ghostface Killah, and De La Soul. The limited edition comic debuts October 10th at New York Comic Con. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Celebrating 100 years, Mount St. Mary's University LA is dedicated to moving your life and career forward. Earn your undergraduate or graduate degree and become unstoppable. Find out how at msmu.edu.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers made quick work of the Cincinnati Reds. They eliminated the Reds from the National League playoffs with an 8-4 win Wednesday night at Dodger Stadium. Mookie Betts was 4 for 5 at the plate with 3 doubles and 3 RBIs. The Dodgers move on to the divisional round against Philadelphia. Game 1 is Saturday in Philly. The Rams are back in action tonight against San Francisco at SoFi. Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua leads the NFL with 42 catches and 503 receiving yards. After week 4 of the NFL season, one of the 5 African-American head coaches in the NFL is still looking for his first win. Aaron Glenn, in his first season with the New York Jets, is 0-4. The Jets' next game is at home Sunday, October 5th against Dallas. Pittsburgh's Mike Tomlin and Tampa Bay's Todd Bowles are 3-1. Atlanta's Raheem Morris is 2-2. D'Amico Ryan in Houston is 1-3. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA listeners. This is Dr. Paul Wallace. I want to discuss a type of eczema called atopic dermatitis, which is often misdiagnosed in Black children and adults. Atopic dermatitis is an autoimmune disorder that can be accompanied by food allergies, hay fever, and asthma. This rash targets the inner arms, behind the knees, and face, but can go all over the body. It causes excessive dryness and 24/7 itching. It's the scratching and steroid use that leads to permanent scarring. I'm enrolling patients in a new clinical research study focused on better treatment options for atopic dermatitis. Of course, your medication and travel reimbursements are provided. To see if you qualify, visit dermstudies.com or call us at 323-296-0048. That's 323-296-0048. There's nothing worse than itching. Let's take the next step in controlling this problem.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that hits Black families hardest. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and it's not a normal part of aging. Early signs like repeating questions, missed appointments, even trouble handling bills might seem small, but they matter. The good news, there are treatment options available that may slow AD when diagnosed early. Don't wait. Visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more. This message is brought to you by AZI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. Melina Abdullah is with me, and you have an event. Before we forget, we were talking about Assata Shakur. We've also been exploring what's going on with this government shutdown. I want to weigh in on the Flotilla situation as well, but want to, give due course to Assata Shakur on this Think Tank Thursday, since we have a scholar in the building, in Dr. Melina Abdullah. Tell me about the event you have coming up in honoring Assata Shakur.
Sure. So my class, people know that I teach my class as what I call a Freedom Campus class. I've been doing that for the last 5 years. I've always opened up my classroom, but for the last 5 years, I said, well, if they're forcing us to teach online, then everybody might as well come. So I've done that. And I live stream my class so that folks who don't have access to university can have access to university. And so that's both in person and online. Anybody who wants to participate in my class, which is called Race Activism and Emotions, is welcome. And so as part of my Freedom Campus class, we're actually transitioning to a new read anyway. So we finished reading Blood in My Eye by George Jackson, and we're transitioning into Bell Hooks' Killing Rage, but are going to be making a pivot to read Assata instead. And for this first part of the session, we're going to honor Assata Shakur, and this is, in light of her passing and her transition. So today at 3 o'clock, we'll be on the campus of Cal State LA. Today at 3 o'clock at Cal State LA in the grassy area outside of King Hall. Everyone who wants to honor Mama Assata is welcome. Everyone who wants to honor Mama Assata is welcome. There have also been situations on campus where terrible groups like Turning Point have come up there. They are not welcome to that space, right? But anyone who wants to honor Mama Assata is welcome. So again, that's today at 3 o'clock outside of King Hall at Cal State LA. So I'll be there. Tandiwe will be there, who's my child, but also co-founder of the Black Lives Matter Youth Vanguard, who's been hugely influenced by Assata Shakur. They'll be there along with Zaid Akinyele, who was named in honor of Zaid Shakur, and whose family comes from the Black Liberation Movement. He's a MC, he's a hip hop artist, and so he'll be there along with Yasmin Monet Watkins, who we call our Black Lives Matter Poet Laureate, who's been deeply influenced by Mama Assata's writings, and then everyone else. Again, you can bring your own writings, you can bring your own teachings. What did Assata teach you? And this will be an hour and a half committed to Mama Assata, and we'll do our best to live it onto Facebook, which is my personal Facebook page. We'll live it onto there, and also my YouTube, which is at Dr. Nellie Mel. So if you can't join in person, but you're welcome to join in person, then please join online. And we know that the university hates this, but that's okay, because we're here for the people, not for the institutions that betray us. And maybe we can talk about what's happening now with the Cal States who try to shut down events like this. And I don't know why, because this is what education is. But just like I think Zionist forces have a stranglehold on government, and white supremacist capitalism has a strangle on government and elected officials, it also has a stranglehold on universities that choose to capitulate and be part and parcel of the oppression and the McCarthyism that we're experiencing. So I'm sure that, I know you've read about, but I'm sure that the audience has also heard about what's happening at the Cal States with them turning over names of professors. It's a new McCarthyism, right, where they're turning over names of professors and of students and of whoever else the Trump regime is asking for, and criminalizing us for doing what we were actually employed to do, which is teach.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that some, but warrants a lot of a lot of conversation, because I really feel like it's just in the beginning stages. And I do think we're in a new McCarthy era. The McCarthyism focused on Black history, Black Lives Matter, any pro-Palestinian protests, and Antifa, which just means anti-fascism, but they seem to think it's an organization or want to say it is. So it's just like dumb McCarthyism. Jacqueline Anderson in the YouTube says, dang, shot 10 times, gave birth and survived. Wow, she's one bad woman. Didn't catch her name going into the news, traffic, and sports. Yeah, you want to?
Yeah, it's Assata Shakur. Assata Shakur, and here's another act of rebellion. She actually conceived Kikuyu while she was on trial, and used love. She also always talks about revolutionary love, like she owns her own body and has a right to her own body and a right to love, even when they try to keep us behind a cage. And so Assata Shakur is a revolutionary in the truest sense. I would offer two things as we move into news, traffic, and sports. I would offer two things about her, is that one, that she reminds us that revolution has to be grounded in love. Revolution is not just fighting back against their hate. She talks about weapons of mass construction. So yes, we're toppling all of their terrible systems, but we're also constructing our own systems. What does family look like for us? And when I say that, people get upset because they think we're saying there's an assault on the family. No, we're taking, it's a reclamation of what the Black family is. Grandmothers are important to us. Fictive kin are important to us. We were laughing last night, Dominique, in the Black community. If I've known you longer than 3 years, you are my cousin and you are my children's aunties, and you are expected to help them if they need your help, right? And so weapons of mass construction. What does education look like? Which is why we do Freedom Campus. Everyone has a right to read books and talk about ideas. And then the second idea that Mama Assata, that's most influential to me, is in these moments, I think sometimes we feel like we're going crazy. Well, Mama Assata says, I do at least, like with attacks on all sides. Mama Assata says, only the strong go crazy. The rest just go along. Only the strong go crazy. The rest just go along. So, and that's also a Prince lyric, right? Let's go crazy. You know, if they want to attack us from all sides, let's go crazy. Let's do the things that seem crazy, because now here's another writer. What looks like crazy on an ordinary day, right, is actually a reclamation of our freedom. So, weapons of mass construction. And if you feel like going crazy, really what you're doing is toppling the enemy and building what you never imagined, or you have the audacity to imagine, can come to life if you do the work to make it happen.
Assata, an Autobiography, is the name of her book. Someone's in the YouTube chat asking. Assata, an Autobiography. It's ASSATA. And that's the name of her book. Also, if you have trouble getting it, I do see a couple copies online, but another thing to consider is reading the interview that she did that was in Essence. And it's A Sister in Exile. Words from a Sister in Exile, I think is what it's called. You can find it online. So we are going to talk about this flotilla, and we are welcoming your calls at 800-920-1580. When we continue, Dr. Melina Abdullah, Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
call your senior Medicare patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Talking with Dr. Melina Abdullah. Fahima made a great point in the chat on YouTube. She says, during the House Judiciary Committee hearing in September 2025, FBI Director Kash Patel appeared unfamiliar with the name of Dylan Roof. Yeah, because Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager hemmed him up and he acted like he didn't know who Dylan Roof was, but he told people not to mourn Assata Shakur. And he was just a little kid when she was in the headlines. So that's really telling right there. And I remember that the administration had indicated that they were going to prioritize the capture of Assata Shakur. Of course, Cuba's only 90 miles from the mainland. And so that really, I was very concerned. Once again, she has eluded them.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. I'm sure that neither Donald Trump or Kash Patel even knew who Assata Shakur was. In fact, I'm sure that most of those in that sphere don't know the names Assata Shakur until we began to list it. And so I think that it's important to remember also they're not just wrong, they're stupid, and they don't know what they're talking about. The other thing, Dominique, that I think is important as we talk about how unrighteous, and may every time they utter her name, may she curse them, right? They be cursed for daring to speak her name when they don't know what they're talking about and they seek to bring her harm even in death. I think we also need to remember that when we talk about how kind of there's this false narrative that Democrats are the opposite of Republicans, who increased the bounty on Mama Assata's head and called her the most wanted terrorist, was Barack Obama.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're the opposite of Democrats, of Republicans, but I do think it's important to note that there is a difference. I don't think we, be seeing the Smithsonian and the Blacksonian shut down and some of the things we're seeing right now. If we had a Democrat in the White House right now.
I'm not saying this is not the worst thing we've ever seen. Right. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that we should. So I believe, and I'm still processing, because for many of us, it's a mourning, right? When we think about, we gathered strength from imagining Mama Assata in her light in Cuba, right? And we have family members and comrades who've actually been embraced by Assata Shakur, right? And so for her to not be here in physical form anymore, for her to have transitioned and to be moving into the realm of the ancestors is also there's a pain that we're grappling with.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think.
Well, I mean, one of my first reactions, Dr. Melina Abdullah, when I saw pundits talking about Assata Shakur was, are Democrats going to have a motion in Congress to memorialize her or honor her as they did with Charlie Kirk? And methinks the answer is no.
You know what I was surprised by, though? So when I say Democrats are not the opposite of Republicans, and that I don't believe Democrats are the answer to Republicans. I think the people are, right?
Yeah, that's the only answer we have right now. It's the only answer we got right now. Yeah.
Right. But when Mama Assata passed, we found out Friday. She passed on Thursday. We found out Friday. And we were at Congressional Black Caucus, and we were in sessions. There were a few who did close their session in Mama Assata's name. So namely Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who is one of the most courageous that we have. She closed her session by she herself reading Mama Assata's words. And then Maxwell Frost, who is the only Gen Zer in Congress and had been an activist before he was elected from Miami. He invoked Mama Assata, and then somebody said, well, we should have a chant. And Tandiwe and I were able to lead that whole session of hundreds of people in a chant for Mama Assata, which you never expect to happen from the Congressional Black Caucus. But there are a few who are courageous.
Yeah.
So I don't think Congress will be closing in her honor, but a few sessions in CBC did. Yeah.
And wanting to point out before we forget that if you are going to buy the book Assata, an autobiography, if you can, you should go to, Zara's or Reparations or what's the name of the new one in Leimert Park? There's a new bookstore over here. Lore, yeah.
Look, I've been trying to get lots of copies. Who will have it this week? Because most are sold out. Is Octavia's Bookshelf in Pasadena. It's a great way to also support them because we know Octavia's Bookshelf has been absolutely crucial for those who are still recovering from the Altadena fires. So they should have a big shipment this week. And if they don't have shipments, just wait. Mama Assata would be mad if we ordered her book from Amazon. So please get it from a Black-owned bookstore. Malik's, Zara's, Lore, Reparations doesn't have any copies, but they'll get some next week, and Octavia's Bookshelf.
Okay, that's good stuff. Well, we didn't leave ourselves a lot of time, but the latest Gaza Aid Flotilla, these are like boats that are headed to the Gaza Strip, meaning to bring supplies. The latest one is the Global Samud Flotilla. It's an international group that was trying to break that blockade. They were intercepted by the Israeli Navy. It was actually a bunch of boats that were headed there, and all except for one was intercepted. And the Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg was among those who were taken into Israeli custody. That actually, they said there were 40 boats in that group, according to the Washington Post, with 440 participants who were forcibly taken off of their vessels. That was a statement that was put out by the Flotilla group today.
Yeah. So there were 44 boats that were launched to break the siege. Let's be very clear that mainstream media is not reporting on the fact that Palestine and Gaza are still under siege and people are being starved to death. More than 600,000 people have been killed in the last 2 years. We're approaching the 2-year anniversary of the most recent assault on the Palestinians. And people around the world are saying, no, not on our dime and not on our watch. So brave folks, including Greta Thunberg, also including Nkosi Mandela, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, were on those boats. and they've all been taking, except there is one boat. There's one boat that remains, and that has broken through to Palestinian waters. The goal is to break the siege and to get food aid, get medical aid, get baby supplies to the people of Palestine who are being starved to death. I do want to lift this up because you don't see this. It's definitely not in mainstream news. And if you're trying to pay attention through Al Jazeera, right? But I want to lift up that the fact that people all over the world are doubling down on this. So they may have gotten the 43 other boats, and there's one that remains that we know of. But the people of Italy, the people of Spain have demanded that their military protect those boats. And when the Italian military withdrew and refused protection because they, I guess, got scared, right? The people of Italy are now saying, well, we're not doing any work for you. And there is a strike, massive strike happening in Italy where the people are saying, we will not be party to the genocide that is happening in Palestine. We have to remember Oakland dock workers are refusing to load shipments of arms to Israel. And so the people have power. We have power to say, we're going to roll on Ted Lieu. They're rolling on Ted Lieu, a Congress member now.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. And so the people have power. If you don't believe in genocide, right, in Islam, we say it's really important to believe with your heart, but it's more important to do with your deeds. Do with your deeds. So what can we do to make sure that if you don't believe in genociding babies, then what can you do with your deeds, even if it's just, stepping up and putting your body out there? There are protests happening almost every day at the Westwood Federal Building. We should all be there. And I'll share more information if you join me today at Cal State LA. But there's a lot going on. Follow organizations like Code Pink, who I love, who's Medea Benjamin and others, for what it is we can be doing. Palestinian Youth Movement. There's going to be a massive protest in Orange County this Sunday, and we'll share all of that on Instagram and social media.
All right, we got a minute here, Dr. Melina Abdullah. How would you like to use it?
Sure. So in person. So we want you to use your voice, your body, and your resources in person. You can come to Cal State LA today at 3:00 outside of King Hall. We'll be honoring Mama Assata Shakur, right? We want you to use your voice to lift up the truth about Mama Assata. You can go pick up her autobiography and then use your resources, direct your funds away from organizations that mean us harm and towards organizations like Black Lives Matter, Grassroots, and others that are doing the work. We're continuing to call for the removal of Errol Southers from the LA Police Commission. We'd love to see you help us do that on Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. And of Nathan Hockman, we want him out Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Follow BLM Grassroots on all social media for more, and BLM Los Angeles on Instagram for local stuff. I'm Melina Abdullah, and you can follow me at Doc Melly Mel, and tune in to This Is Not a Drill on Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m.
Dr. Abdullah, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Up next, Akuyo Graham is joining us here in the studio. She's what we call an artivist, and looking forward to the conversation. Hope you'll join us on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Trump officials visited Memphis, Tennessee Wednesday as federal forces began a crime crackdown. Attorney General Pam Bondi